Díodh agus fáilte romh héag agla bhfuil le Fionntán ó Garavain an seo. Hello everybody, you're very welcome to another member interview agla bhfuil le Fionntán ó Garavain an seo. It's mission Niall O'Sheil, four-bror our folma le Bitesize Irish. I'm Niall, learning content developer with Bitesize Irish. And today we have Fionntán ó Garavain, who is coming to us from his workplace, it looks like. So Fionntán, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, Rich, Niall agus Díomh gachtain yeah, Fionntán is an dom agus is as Baile Átha Luain ó uachas mé. Láthir Tommy Mahoney in Miami, Florida, agus Tommy an sin le seach from Lína inis. Dog mé éire sa bhliain gachéad is sé chun mo oliúint garmiúil a chuicnú. Dús tháinig mé an seo go Miami agus chap mé 3 bliain an seo. Ina nia sin chuí mé go léirfuil í Sasanna agus chap mé 2 bliain an sin. Ina nia sin bhí mé Mahoney sa nua héalan feadh 2 bliain agus tháinig mé ras arís an seo go dtí Miami agus tá an seo fós. So yeah, Fionntán is my name, and I'm originally from a town called Athlone. Currently, I'm living in Miami, Florida, and I'm here about 7 years at the moment. I left Ireland in 2006 to complete or pursue my professional training. At first, I came to Miami as a fellow, actually, and I spent 3 years here at that time. And then I spent 2 years in Liverpool, England. And after that, I spent 5 years over in New Zealand. And then I came back again to Miami about 7 years ago, and I've been here since.
Wow, fantastic. So you've been a few places then. And can I ask, why is it that you've ended up in Miami? So we gathered that it's your profession has taken you around the world, and we can guess what it might be from how you're dressed in your office there. But how is it that you've decided that you've ended up in Miami for good, and you traveled all around the world, but it's Miami is where you are now?
Yeah, so at the time when I was in Ireland, I did medical training, and I was coming to the end of pathology training. So there are different types of pathologists. There are 2 types, and all have to train as they call a surgical pathologist. So a person who, if you have a lump or a bump or a biopsy is taken off your body, skin, tissue, sent to a laboratory, a pathologist will look at that under a microscope and make a diagnosis, which will then decide your treatment. Forensic pathologists will have done that, but we're move on to another further area, which is where we're concerned with the entire body and how it has passed or how they have died. We're particularly obviously skilled in the areas of injuries and drugs and poisons and so on. Anyhow, at that time, there was no training for forensic pathologists in Ireland. And I didn't really think the English training system wasn't something that I was attracted to. So I applied to places in the United States, and there were a couple of places that made offers. Miami was one of them. And I took Miami because at the time, it just seemed like a nice place to live, and it was exciting, hot weather and beaches and all that stuff. Pretty normal reasons, really. But the training program was considered one of the best in the world at the time. And I was the first and only international person that was ever taken into that training program.
Wow.
So, I was quite honored. And he was a person you would look up to. Excellent. what's the word you use in English when somebody is a mentor, excellent mentor. Yeah. So
Oh,
I was
yes,
very
yes.
pleased with.
Yeah.
So that was it. Yeah, that's why I ended up there.
And you've stayed in Miami too, so you must be settled there. Have you put down roots there?
Yeah, life got a bit complicated. So I was here for 3 years, and at the time I met whom now is my wife. She's from Philadelphia originally, and she was living in Miami and still lives in Miami, and she has family here. But we came back here for different reasons. One was Dr. Hyman, I didn't know he was about to pass away at the time, but he'd asked me to come back here to work in 2015, and I came back in 2015, and my wife was with me at the time in New Zealand, she completing her PhD, so it suited her, to be honest with you, to come back here, and I
Yeah.
was I was okay with it. A really nice guy. I was very very happy to come back and work with him. He didn't mention the fact that he was dying from cancer at the time, which I still hold against him. I didn't realize until I met him. Had I known that, I probably wouldn't have come back. But yeah, he probably knew that too. Anyhow, that's how I ended up back here. And life moves on. You get married, and things get complicated. And before you know it, 10 years have come by.
But it's family as well as the CSI Miami. It's also those family connections too.
Correct.
Very nice.
Correct.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we're going to go way back. You're originally from Baile Átha Luain or Athlone town. That's Cundinhirvi, is it Westmeath?
Cundinhirvi, yeah. Ilar on.
Ilar Natira, yeah. And so I'd like to ask you about your first experience with Irish. Did you have Irish at school? How did you get on with it then when you were young?
Yeah. So, like we're in my quid education there, and I did all my Gohimla and all my Irish, all my education in Ireland. And of course did my, like Martin Chachma Gobli and Dig, like Balum Gaelga. So I spent 12 years learning Irish. But I suppose, but Galta Duname, I was a bad student, I suspect. Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I was just, a typical young boy. I played sports. I was very good at sports. I played as many as often as I could, 7 days a week, often twice a day. Mm-hmm. Pursuing languages or mathematics or anything else wasn't really on my list of things to achieve before the age of 15 or 16. But that was my first experience with it. My beginner school and middle school, that sort of thing, secondary school, my memories of it are quite okay. I think it's only when you got to the leaving cert, really.
That's when it was challenging.
Well, it became a problem because now you're going to be examined in it, and the examinations, of course, have a consequence regarding where you go next, regarding colleges or what you do or don't. And I suppose I remember that unfortunate, uncomfortable feeling with it, and because the thing is, my mother was an Irish speaker, and she's still alive, but she grew up in what was then a Gaeltacht in Mayo, and she was a fluent Irish speaker. Now, unfortunately, not a criticism. I mean, obviously, they made the decision not to raise their children through Irish. I wish they did, they didn't. Before I was 19, quite old. So if you ask my mother, or if my mother writes a note in the car, ask Wilga, it's in the old script. She didn't know how to write Irish to use in current script. She don't have 18 letters in her. Anyhow, look, it wasn't there was no great achievements there. I wasn't a great student. I mean, that all changed a little, obviously, in my early 20s. I don't know, I woke up one day and said, I better probably take this life a bit more seriously. And I did, but at that time, no. We didn't speak Irish outside of school, of course. There was not really any, incentive. I did not come from a background where, money was available to be sent off to Gaeltachts and so on. It didn't happen. Actually, I only went to a Gaeltacht in the last 2 years. It was the first time in my life I went to one.
Where did you go?
So, I gaf me chaikish on Inish Mian.
Oh, Gahalin.
Yeah, Gahalin, Ilan Gahalin, yeah. So, gaf me chaikish on Shin, agus chaikish on Swevnach. It's oil.
Anyone doesn't know, Inishmaan is one of the Aran Islands. So it's an island just off the coast of Galway, kind of between Galway and Clare. But I've been told, I haven't been to that particular island, I've been to Inishmore, but I've been told that Inishmaan is maybe the most Gaelic place on earth because it really is Irish everywhere there. So I really want to go there myself. So that's a great tip for everyone.
It's true, yeah. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot there. I met a lot of different people there, but I just really enjoyed it, and I, as soon as possible, will certainly go back there. With professional life, it's just difficult to try and always arrange. But I mean, I always had an interest in the Irish. I guess even then, I wondered why there was this separation between being an Irish person and ability to speak it and people who clearly spoke it fluently. You would hear them on the train often, coming back from Dublin. They'd be heading to Galway and I'd be getting off in Athlone. You'd often hear them chatting away in Irish. And there was an envy within me about, God, I wish I could, and a frustration, why can't I, So
I always think that little bit of envy or frustration that people feel is good. We can harness that and use it. That's the motivation. That means you really want to do it yourself in the end. So, okay, so you weren't someone who was completely separated from it, but it wasn't very present in your life. So how did you come back to studying it again this time when you've been to the Gaeltacht in recent years? What happened? Have you been studying for a long time, or did you return to the language a couple of years ago? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate in the years in my 20s and 30s. I through work and through studies and other reasons, I traveled a lot, and I have traveled extensively around the world. But certainly I have very clear memories in the first 7, 8, 9 trips away, and I would often go away for months at a time by myself. Backpacking, and I'm literally one of those people. Give me a compass, a map, and a wallet, and I'll put me anywhere and I'll survive. Of course, you don't need maps anymore; you just your phone. But at the time, anyhow, a good old map. Yeah, and I have clear memories of meeting Irish people on your travels, and you might not have spoke English for many weeks, depending where you were in the world, and you'd meet Irish people, and there was a want or a wish to be able to isolate or separate yourself from the other people who spoke their own languages. So you'd be often being hostels, and people would be chatting in whatever language they're from, French, Spanish, Hebrew, you name it. But then here's the paddies, and we're speaking English. And what struck me was that the other people could not distinguish us from English people, which is no offense to English people. I'm not trying to have a go at English people. I'm just saying that to their ear, there was no distinction. They did not distinguish the accent, which clearly there is a difference, but they don't get that. No different than you could probably tell the difference of a French-speaking Swiss from a French-speaking French person. Yeah. And that was something that always struck me. I was kind of going, here we are, we're not able to actually, we don't own anything, which we don't have a way of putting on display that we are different, other than some physical display like a T-shirt or some stupid thing, which says, "Kiss me, I'm Irish," which really gets my wick up, particularly traveling around the world at St. Patrick's Day and that. The only thing that people tend to associate with Ireland was, rather what they call a plastic paddy idea, this very gaudy things. But the language would have been a very good way, and still hopes that it would be a very good way to distinguish yourself as an independent nation among nations. You know, your language is certainly something that would differentiate you from. I remember in India, I worked as a surgeon in India for a while, and you know, teaching Indian people some Irish, you know, because they wanted to learn about it, and to them it sounded Arabic, which I thought was funny.
Oh yeah, there's some sounds which are close, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. To them, it sounded Arabic. You know, it's
Yeah,
quite funny. And but having said
yeah,
that, the first time I heard Portuguese being spoken, I thought it was Russian. So there you go. You know,
yeah.
um,
I thought so too.
yeah. So anyhow, I made a decision at that time, somewhere in my late 20s, that when I got the opportunity, I made a promise myself that I'm going to go back and do something about that. And in the meantime, my professional training and all that, I knew that was going to distract me. I knew that was going to require my full commitment, and it did. It
Attention,
certainly did.
yes, I can imagine.
It certainly did, yeah. And but you know, I've kind of come into the end of that now. That you know, I'm actually looking to it. I'm only 53, but I'm looking to actually kind of start easing
Scale
myself
back,
out of the profession. Yeah, I've
right?
done what I wanted to do. I've achieved what I wanted to achieve in it, and um,
Hmm.
I'm happy to work at a part time. But anyway, the point is that I've kept that promise, and I'm now turning the ship around, and I'm making more time for the Irish language. Something that I said that I wanted to do before I die, that I wanted to be in a position where I could hold conversation to a very good level. And ideally, actually, I'd love to be able to get into a bit of writing, maybe. I have a
Hmm.
lot of stories from my professional work,
Sure, you do, yeah.
and it would be, you know, nice to be able to have the ability to maybe write some novels or something, you know, or even short stories, or not the level
Mhm.
of children, not children, but maybe in your teenage years, just something like that. That's something that I would like to do. I'd find it very, I don't know, rewarding.
Mm.
So I started about 3 years ago. Started off with Gale culture and
Mhm.
doing those, you know, online classes. It was during COVID, of course, which
Mhm.
proved useful for that. And while I was in that, you know, I kind of heard about Bitesize Irish too. You know, you pick up tangible pieces of information from elsewhere. And joined Guild. I don't know when I joined Bitesize, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. I'm not sure. Um,
Mm.
I do find it very helpful, just that literally that little bit every day. Um,
Yeah. Céile go gachla.
yeah, got law, and you know, and I'm reading books now in Irish, um, and
Wonderful.
you know, slowly but surely, it's coming on. And as I get more time going into the future, I hope to be able to capitalize on that progress.
That sounds fantastic. So it sounds like quite a natural progression, really, from that interest you've always had to finding the time and the opportunity. I think in the pandemic, a lot of people found out that we do have a bit more access to lessons and other facilities that we didn't realize before. The pandemic forced everyone to try out remote working and e-learning and things like that, and it definitely has its place. All of that stuff is so useful, no matter where we are in the world. So, if I could ask you about your experience with bite size, then what would you say has been the most enjoyable, the most beneficial thing about using bite size to further your Irish? Has anything stood out to you?
Yeah, I certainly like the way that you know, the daily, weekly tasks that are kind of offered to you, and I use the word offer because, you know, you don't have to do them if you don't want to. They're put up, and you can pick and choose what you wish to do depending on your time. I don't have
Mhm.
time every week or every day, but then I can catch up. I can backtrack on days that I
Mm.
missed when I have the time. I like the gentle but careful um, direction towards points of grammar. I mean, Irish grammar is, in my opinion, yeah, is extremely difficult. It's not. There's a lot of, yeah. It's. I mean, I have some knowledge of Spanish and French, uh, and I just don't. remember anything like the grammar problems that were there with Irish. I did Latin in school as well, and there are some things in Latin that seem comparable, particularly the genitive case, I suppose.
Yes.
But however, it's like everything else. It's a matter of practice and you get used to it. One of the things that I've noticed is that you learned English obviously all your life, and you never really had to pay attention to the finer points of any grammar. And now that I'm learning Irish, you happen to go back and realize, well, hang on, what's a clause again, or what's this idea of a definite noun and indefinite noun. You know how to use them, of course you do, but you wouldn't necessarily have been schooled on the
we don't really need
of it. But that's actually no, yeah, you're right. But anyway, with the bite size, it makes it a lot. It's manageable. It's very manageable.
Yeah.
There's other people there, of course. It's nice to make connections. It's nice to see other people on a similar experience to yourself. I noticed quite a lot of non-Irish people, which is fair play to them, and good on them. And other people like myself have maybe got the opportunity to go back to it, having gone through other life experiences. And so for that, it's an excellent tool, and the fact that I'm on it 2 years now, I think supports that, because if I didn't think that at all, I would have stopped my subscription. So I continue the subscription. I do find it valuable.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And if anyone who's watching doesn't know about those daily challenges and weekly challenges, that's on Bitesize Pubble, our online community. So we've got a forum, and my colleague Emma posts little challenges, questions, a little bit of reading or writing. And as we've said, you can answer them, take part if you want, or you can, if you're too busy, you don't have to. There's no compulsion either. So that's hopefully something that can help you do a little bit of Irish every day. Gaeilge Gachla. So that's really great. Well, Fionntán, thank you so much for talking to us. It's great to hear another story about how Irish has kind of woven in and out of someone's life in a slightly different way. And I'm definitely looking forward to reading your stories, and maybe, I don't know, is it a bit of travel writing or just interesting stories from around the world? It's great to think that Irish has that international aspect,
Yeah, no, just, Beidir fiction, Beidir or Beidir cúpla scéal fior freisin ní lisa gom anish, but Athlone scéal, on Siúlach scéalach, is that Sinead?
Yes. Being Siúlach scéalach.
Yeah,
so the person who is Siúlach, the person who's around the world, they have a lot of stories.
Exactly, yeah.
Might be a title for your book then.
It might be, yeah, it might be. Or tá tidalagam freshen for Laura stripping the dead, agus is entitled Marielle or Ober, just Dana van Screwdo Irvosh, so.
Yeah. So relating to the work too, of course. Well, it's been really fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much. And for the viewers at home, Tasúlagam Gurwinship Soltas Chora Simil Shin. Hope you enjoyed that fascinating conversation. And please click on www.bitesize.irish/links to find out more about Bitesize memberships and courses available. Gurna Míle Maithagah, Slán live.
Slán.